Step inside my twisted world, where heroes will collide. Villains aren't the only evil, there are no fucking sides. Every match will test their stats, every loss and win are weighed. Any chance they thought they had could all end up in vain on Combo Breaker.
The best friend. Someone who always stands by your side through thick and thin. Honestly, this person's the kind of person who will stick with you through anything. A tough breakup, having your sister kidnapped by a witch, having your best friend turn into a weasel? The hell are we talking about? Okay, I'm apparently talking about today's fighters. Jak and Daxter, the Forgotten PlayStation Eco Warriors, and Banjo Kazooie, Rareware's Bird and Bear Dream Team. So, Jak and Daxter's always been kind of a weird game to me. It always kind of looks like a bad Ratchet and Clank. Hell, they got destroyed by Ratchet and Clank on their last fight on my show, so I guess point proven, they are a bad Ratchet and Clank. But, jokes aside, let's go ahead and talk about Jak and Daxter's powers and arsenal. So Jak is a master of using Eco, which is like magical earth energy, and each flavor, or color I guess, has its own powers. With green Eco, Jak can heal his wounds and create barriers. With yellow Eco, he can launch out energy blasts from his hands, and with blue Eco, he can double his speed and reaction time. Not to mention he also has red Eco that allows him to boost his strength, allowing him to tear through his foes with ease. But after some painful experimentation, Jak was given the power to use Dark Eco. With Dark Eco, Jak can transform into Dark Jak. This boosts all of his stats to just ridiculous amounts and gives him projectiles he can launch out of dark energy. He's also completely invulnerable, but it does have a time limit, sadly. But Jak also has one more important transformation to talk about, and that's with Light Eco, called what else? Light Jak. As Light Jak, he can glide through the air, create force fields, regenerate, and even freeze time. Yeah, you don't mess with Light Jak. Now, Jak wields one of the most versatile weapons ever created, the Morph Gun. Powered by different types of Eco, it can act like, well, a shotgun, a grenade launcher, a minigun, an assault rifle, pretty much anything. Not to mention it can fire bouncing laser shots, homing needles, and even freaking lightning. Yeah. And when Jak sets his Morph Gun to mass inverter mode, he can blast out a wave of dark Eco so ungodly that it inverts and alters the actual laws of gravity. Like, jeez, that is some crazy ass shit. But if all else fails, he can actually just blast out a supernova type move. It basically one-shots anything it touches. Jak's also pretty damn strong. He can destroy city block sized robots, and with his light and dark Jak forms, he can destroy robots that could survive falling from orbit. Yeah. With his guns, he can tear through metal doors and robots with ease. Unfortunately, though, Daxter is barely able to turn a water valve. Yeah, Daxter isn't exactly the most helpful partner. Now, when it comes to speed, with blue Eco, Jak can actually dodge lasers and bullets, and at incredibly close range, too. And Daxter's actually shown to have similar speeds, as he can hop onto rockets and ride them around. Jak is actually pretty damn durable, as he can survive large explosions from robots and missiles. He survived attacks from robots that are the size of buildings, and with his light and dark Eco, he's actually 100% invulnerable. But Daxter, on the other hand, is also incredibly durable. His Toon Force-ish nature allows him to survive similar amounts of force, if not even more than Jak can. But this is more due to him being a comic relief style character. Now, Jak is the tactical genius and usually able to find a way to win any battle. While Daxter does try and help, he typically doesn't have much to offer. Yeah, he can steer missiles into foes, but he's not exactly a battle strategist. He's very, very hot-headed. But these two are far from perfect as well. Jak can actually only hold so much Eco at a time. It's typically about a minute of each. Not to mention, Daxter is practically useless in battle. As I mentioned, he's hot-headed, he's not very strong. While he is durable and fast, it doesn't matter if he can't hurt anything. Yes, I love Banjo Kazooie. That game's so nostalgic and amazing, and God, that game started the collectathon genre that would just go on to evolve into great games like Super Mario Odyssey. And then, well, okay, nuts and bolts happened, so maybe it's not a flawless series, but let's talk about Banjo Kazooie's weapons and abilities. Banjo and Kazooie have fourth wall awareness and amazing heat resistance, and they jumped into pots of boiling liquids and were perfectly fine. They also clearly have some amount of Toon Force or possibly a healing factor, as they've been crushed by giant boulders and just pop back up in seconds if they're even unaffected by it. Yeah, their health does take a hit, but they seem to be perfectly fine. Banjo actually has a few fighting techniques up his non-existent sleeve. He can use his claws as bears would, or he can do a barrel roll, which allows him just to barrel through his enemies, like literally. He can also do a ground pound like your generic platforming heroes to crush his enemies. And Kazooie can lend a hand in battle as well, as she can peck enemies and even lift up Banjo for flying attacks. But Banjo also has Kazooie for projectile-based combat. Yeah, I bet you didn't know that. But with Special X, Kazooie's able to launch eggs out of her rear end like you'd expect, or Banjo can use her like a freaking gun to launch eggs out of her mouth. Wait, I'm sorry, what the actual hell is that? Okay, I'm sorry guys, I gotta go run a fact check. Nope, okay, that's a thing. But I mean, that would mean that Kazooie's, would be linked to her mouth somehow. What the fuck is this logic? Let's talk about Banjo's ammo type for his bird gun. He can fire normal eggs that obviously just do normal damage. He has his flame eggs that can light things on fire, explosive eggs that will explode, and freeze eggs that can freeze people. He also has his clockwork eggs that can launch out tiny robot birds that explode on contact with the enemy. Anyway, he also has a few other ones that aren't too, crazy, and I don't really need to mention them. Anyway, Kazooie can also swap places with Banjo to carry him on his back. That allows them to move faster. Okay, nope. How does a bird carrying a bear move faster than the bear carrying the bird? God, this game's logic is hurting my head. Anyway, now it's time for what I feared. I need to talk about nuts and bolts. That game was bad. See, Banjo has a magic wrench that allows him to summon vehicles out of thin air and levitate things the size of large buildings. Yeah, that's actually a pretty impressive tool. So you know what? You get a pass, nuts and bolts, but only this one time. Now on to feats. Banjo Kazooie have beaten building-sized foes like giant crabs and gorillas. He's destroyed huge chunks of Old King Cole, who's a huge monster made of coal. He's also fought one of Gruntilda's minions who could shake mountains with his punches. And they've beaten Gruntilda, who could survive a fall from above the clouds. And they've have Rocks crush her right after. And they were able to overpower her and beat her. Not to mention, his car should be comparable to that of Gruntilda's that could destroy Spiral Mountain. With Kazooie carrying them, they can actually run up walls and fly at high speeds, and he can dodge attacks from gorillas throwing fruits and magical attacks from Gruntilda, meaning they should actually be rather fast. Now, Banjo is tough enough to survive attacks from monsters who could shake mountains and huge gorillas and even coal monsters, and Kazooie should have similar durability, as there doesn't seem to be a damage difference when Kazooie is the main character. Banjo and Kazooie are also incredibly intelligent, as they've fought and beaten Gruntilda multiple times, even winning a trivia contest, and they can make cars out of nothing on the fly. Yeah, that's actually pretty smart. But these two aren't perfect. You see, Banjo's incredibly lazy, and they do have a limit on how many of each type of egg they can carry, so they will have to be sparing with their ammo. Alright, our combatants are set. Which set of best friends will win in a fight to the death? Banjo and Kazooie are flying through the air as Kazooie flies into another bird and goes spiraling out of control, crashing into Jak and Daxter's house as Jak and Daxter return. Banjo stands up from the rubble and rubs his head as he hears the noise of a cocking gun. Banjo looks up at Jak, who's pointing his morph gun at him. Kazooie then pops out of Banjo's backpack and launches an egg at Jak that explodes on contact. Jak stumbles back and coughs up some smoke as Banjo barrel rolls into Jak and knocks him to the ground. Daxter then jumps off of Jak's shoulder and kicks Banjo in the head as Jak stands back up only to see Kazooie peck Daxter, launching him back, but Jak catches him. Jak then shoots his morph gun at Banjo, hitting him in the shoulder as Jak's feet begin to glow blue. Jak then dashes forward and jumps up and spins as his foot glows red and kicks Banjo in the head. Banjo stumbles back in pain, shaking himself, trying to reorient himself, as Jak throws a disc into the air that shoots a flurry of bullets down at Banjo, but Banjo hops into his backpack and hides from the blast. The bullets bounce off the bag as Banjo summons the car and hops in. Jak runs towards Banjo, who presses on the accelerator, sending his car straight towards Jak, who jumps over and shoots the car in the engine, blowing it up and sending Banjo flying through the air. Jak then pulls out his gun and aims, but Banjo slams down with a ground pound towards Jak, who tries to roll away, but Banjo smashes into him. Jak then pushes Banjo off of him and transforms into his dark form. Jak grabs Banjo by the throat and throws him into a tree, knocking down the tree. Jak then rushes forward and gut punches Banjo as Kazooie pops out and pecks him in the eye. Jak yells out in pain as he headbutts Kazooie and slashes Banjo's chest open. Jak then pulls his fist back to cave in Banjo's skull with one final attack, but Kazooie fires an egg, freezing his head, knocking him to the ground and out of his dark form. Daxter tries to break the ice as Banjo grabs him and bites off Daxter's head and throws his body in the air. Kazooie catches Daxter's body mid-air and swallows it. Jak stands back up in a rage as his body begins to glow red. He dashes forward and punches at Banjo, and as their fists collide, sending out shockwaves, breaking Jak's arm as Kazooie bites his eye out. Banjo then grabs him and pries open his mouth as Kazooie launches 3 eggs down his throat that explode, blowing Jack's body to pieces. Banjo then walks away with his shoulder bleeding heavily from the bullet wound. Alright, our winners are Banjo and Kazooie. And yeah, no one saw this outcome coming. But it seems like Banjo and Kazooie did outclass Jak and Daxter in most ways. Starting off with strength and durability, Jak's best feats were destroying robots that based on size alone should be city block to multi-city block level. And Daxter's super weak. He's barely able to hurt anything, and he can't even turn a water valve. While he can survive a missile explosion, that's about all he really brings to the table. But Banjo and Kazooie have done things like broken parts of Old King Cole, beaten Gruntilda who survived a fall from above the clouds, and then having Boulder smash her. And after that, or not after, but before that, they overpowered someone who could shake mountains with his punches alone. Yeah, so they should be around mountain level, maybe on the lower end of it, because the opponent they fought was only shaking mountains. So speed-wise, Jak and Daxter with their blue eco can actually dodge bullets and lasers, but that's with only their blue eco, which they only have about a minute's worth of. Whereas Kazooie can carry Banjo up walls with her speed, and Banjo has shown the speed to dodge fireballs before. So while Jak and Daxter could have the speed edge, it would literally only be for a minute because that's how much blue eco they have packed with them. Then there's also the fact that Banjo and Kazooie can both fight and work well together, whereas Jak and Daxter, while great friends, are not exactly the best team, because Daxter, as I've mentioned, is useless. Jak literally carries the team on his shoulder. He does all the work. While Jak has impressive abilities with his eco, he can only use a minute's worth of each, so yeah, he can heal himself, but it's limited. He can freeze time, but again, it's limited, and Banjo and Kazooie can take whatever they can dish out for that minute because they outclass him significantly in strength and durability. Now, don't get me wrong, Banjo and Kazooie do have limited eggs and feathers that they can use for ammo, but they aren't as reliant on that as Jak is on his eco and gun. Looks like Jak and Daxter got Banjoed. Oh god, that one was really bad. I'm sorry. Our winners are Banjo and Kazooie. Next time on Combo Breaker.
Going back to the past, Samurai Jack. Watch out. Jack. Watch out. Going back. Jack, Samurai Jack. Watch out.
Finally, it's here. Samurai Jack versus Genji. First of all, let me thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share this to any friends you know who like versus debates. And, tell me what you think of the next match. Give me your predictions, maybe suggest matches in the comments, and they might happen.